Hey, Mr. Crofton here, back with virtual geometry, talking about linear equations, and we've got a special guest today. This is Ms. Dwyer right here.
Hey everybody, welcome to Virtual Geometry.
Ms. Dwyer is going to help us out, working through our linear equations, a little Algebra 1 review. So, getting started, if you're wondering what a linear equation is, it's just a line. It's a fancy word for a line. But of course, to go along with that, we've got a lot of, equations. So, here we've got kind of a web that shows everything that you learned in Algebra 1. Things like over here, our slope-intercept form. That's one that we're going to be looking at a lot. That's the big one we're hitting on. Our slope formula, which we see as our rise over run, our change in y over change in x, and there's our formula. Over on the other side here, I've got something called the standard form. Seen a little less frequently, but still a good one to know. That's in the form ax plus by equals c. And then point slope form down here, which helps us to figure out the equation of a line when given a point and the slope, as we will see. All right, without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing that people want to know how to do is how to graph the line just given the equation. So this is in the form y equals mx plus b, where you've got your slope is m. So I'm going to write that here. And your b is your y-intercept. Sorry about that, bad handwriting. Anyway, so we've got our slope and our y-intercept. We want to start at our y-intercept. In this case, it's -3. And we find -3 on the, of course, y-axis. So count down to -3. That's your starting point. That's where everything builds off of it. Now, next thing I've got here is, I'll change colors, is the slope. Start with the y-intercept, then go to slope. My slope is 2, which is the same as 2 over 1. And we know we go rise over run with slope. So from this point, I rise 2, and then I run 1 to the right, because it's a positive slope. I'm going to do that a couple times to make sure my line's accurate. Rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1. And notice I can actually go the other way as well. I can go down 2 and over 1 to the left. That's essentially like a double negative. And notice how it really continues that line that I have. My last step would be just to connect them all. Boom. And we've got the graph of our first line. Now, let's check out one a little trickier. Ms. Dwyer is going to come in, take over. What do we got?
So on the second equation, you can see it's still in the form of y equals mx plus b. However, our slope is now negative and a fraction. Same formula, 6 over here, positive 6 is going to be our y-intercept, so we're going to put it on the y, right here. And then, now looking at our slope is -3 over 4. So that means we're going to start here, we're going to go down 3, and then we're going to go to the right 4. Remember, when you have a negative slope, only one of the numbers is negative. So since we're going down 3, we're going to go positive 4. So -3, 1, 2, 3, positive 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to do it again. Down 3, 1, 2, 3, to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, we went -3. You could also have this slope as 3 over -4. You could go up 3, 1, 2, 3, but then -4 to the right. Sorry, to the left. And that gives us a pretty good line with a negative slope. If you look at the two lines now graphed, you can see that our first line is going from the bottom to the top. Our second line, if you read it left to right, is going from the top to the bottom. That's how you know the slopes are positive and negative.
Ooh, we got two really good lines drawn there. I think Ms. Dwyer beats me on neatness, but hey, they both do the job. Both 100%. I like it. Now, we're going to move off the graph for a little bit and get into a little more stuff with the equation, all right? So now I'm looking to find the slope of a line that goes through 2 points. And an important note up here I made, just something for you to think on. There's only one possible line that goes through any 2 points. You draw any 2 points on a piece of paper, you can only draw exactly one line through it. So there's exactly one slope that fits these 2 points, okay? So, as we talked about before, slope is m, or our rise over run, or this is our equation. This is something important to come back to, all right? That's what we're going to use to find the slope here. So to do that, I need an x1, a y1, an x2, and a y2. So I'm going to make this my x1, y1, and this my x2, y2. And an important note here, I could have flipped those around. It doesn't matter at all. I would get the same exact answer. So first thing, y2 is 2, minus my y1 is negative 4, over x2 is 0, minus x1 is 3. And notice because I wrote these here, it was really easy to refer back to and not ever get mixed up with it. All right, working through it. I've got 2 minus negative 4. That's really a 2 plus 4 on the top. On the bottom, 3 minus 0. I'm sorry, 0 minus 3 is a negative 3. Keep simplifying. Just do the top here. So 2 plus 4, 6 over negative 3, which at the end we can simplify to negative 2. So our slope is negative 2, or if you wanted to leave it as a fraction, because that's kind of nice, negative 2 over 1. Either way works. Cool. That's how we find our slope when given 2 points. And just to prove it, in case you didn't believe me, here I got a slide with these 2 points actually plotted. And hey, you try to draw more than one line through that, I don't think you can do it. There's one line, goes like that, boom. And if you wanted to double check to make sure our slope was right, you could say, hey, I rise from this point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I run 1, 2, 3 to the left, so negative 3. Made a nice little slope triangle. And if I go rise over run, I got 6 over negative 3, which probably looks familiar, is our negative 2 slope. So just double checking and making sure we're right with it. Cool. All right, let's get into some more equations. So here's 2 equations that you're going to see a lot of, and there's 2 methods for solving these kind of problems. To find the equation of a line with a slope of 2 that goes to the point negative 3, 5, Ms. Dwyer is going to knock out the point slope form for us.
So probably last year in Algebra 1, you did this a lot whenever you got a slope and a point. So really all you're going to do is, again, you're going to label your point x1, y1, and that helps you to know exactly where to plug in your formula. Here we have a y. Here we have y1. So we're going to plug in y minus our y1, which is 5, equals our slope of m, which is 2, because they tell us that. So we're going to plug in our 2, keep the parentheses, x minus now our x1, which is a negative 3. So notice you leave the x and y there because when you are finding an equation of the line, you want to end up in that slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. Here we're going to distribute our 2. We can turn this to a plus a positive because we know minus a negative is plus a positive. So we have y minus 5 equals 2x plus 6. And then from there, we just combine like terms. We want our y by itself, so we're going to add 5 to both sides. And our final answer is y equals 2x plus 11. Final answer.
Isn't that nice? Now you can go ahead, graph it if you feel like it. I know, I get the itch when I see a y equals mx plus b. I want to graph it, so go for it. You can do that. But before you do that, I want to show you another method that also works perfectly fine. It's just a different method that possibly you prefer, or maybe you don't. Either way, check it out, and then you decide for yourself. I'm going to go from slope-intercept form, and sorry, Ms. Dwyer, but I'm going to erase this because I'm actually just calling it the x and y values here. Now, I've got that same m that Ms. Dwyer underlined over here, and I've got an x value, and I've got a y value. So I plug those 3 things in. 2y equals mx plus b. So I've got 5 equals slope, or m, is 2 times my x value here is negative 3 plus b is the one thing that I don't know. You need a slope, you need a y-intercept. Well, I've got my slope. I have no idea what the y-intercept is. So let's do that. We got to solve for b. So I'm going to leave this as 5, and then with my order of operations, I multiply 2 and negative 3 to get negative 6 plus b. All right. Again, my goal is to solve for b. So to get b by itself, I'd add 6 to both sides. 11 equals b. Okay, now this is the one negative about doing it this way. I now have to take that and plug it back into an equation, whereas Mr. Dwyer's version, in point slope form, you could just plug it straight through and you'd be done. I just have to take this 11 equals b and plug it in to y equals, again, my slope of 2, x plus my y-intercept, which I just said was 11. So notice, 2 spectacular, awesome, exactly the same answers, 2 different ways. So pick which method you like the best and go with that. It will always work for you. Okay, last thing we're going to do here, well, last big thing with the equations, is we're going to find the equation of a line that goes through the 2 points. All I have are the 2 points. I need to figure out what line it is that goes through it. And remember, there's only one, right? So first thing you might think to do, you should think to do, is find the slope. So we know the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we're pretty good at it now. We did it once. We've been practicing. So I'm going to go through this one kind of quicker, right? This is x1, y1, x2, y2. All right. So I've got 9 minus 6 over 8 minus 2. Okay. Gets me a 3 over 6. Simplifies to 1/2. So I've done a lot of the work now. I know that the slope is 1/2. But now I'm stuck. I need the equation of a line. I need some help. Mr. Dwyer, can you help me?
I can help you. So we just went through those 2 formulas. You could use point slope form or you could use the y-intercept form. I'm going to use the y-intercept form of y equals mx plus b. I just found my m over here. It's 1/2. Now, in the problem that Mr. Crofton had before, he had only 1 point. Here we have 2. The benefit is you can just pick whatever point you're going to use. So I'm going to use the 2 and the 6 only because they're smaller numbers, and I'm going to plug everything in. So 2 is my x, 6 is my y. I'm going to plug in 6 equals, my slope is 1/2, times 2, plus my b. We're going to solve for b. 6 equals 2 times 1/2 is 1 plus b. Subtract my 1, and I get 5 equals b. My final step when I'm in this form is just to plug my b in to my y equals mx plus b form. So my final answer is going to be y equals 1/2 x plus 5.
Beautiful. And if you think you feel like you can grasp this, you're looking very good with the equations of lines. This is what we really want to get to be able to do, is from 2 points, find the equation of a line. One additional thing we're throwing in here at you is, what if you have it in what's called standard form, right? This is not our y equals mx plus b form, and this, well, personal opinion, but kind of stinks. I would much rather have my beloved y equals mx plus b form, because you've got your slope right there, you've got your y-intercept right there. It makes things so nice and easy to do. But we can get there, don't worry. All right. Now my goal, notice in here, the y is all by itself on the left. That's what I want to do with this equation as well. I want to get everything else to the other side. First step in doing that, subtract 3x from both sides. Okay, cancels out over here. I'm left with 2y equals, now I'm going to leave the negative 3x in the front just because notice how your slope-intercept looks like. Y equals mx plus b, the x is before the constant. And, oops, sorry, and I just kind of bumped the minus 8 over. All right, now I again want to get y by itself. So my next step here, I'm going to divide that by 2 to cancel out. But remember, with an equation, if you do something on one side, you got to do it on the other side. With dividing, I can either divide the whole thing by 2, or I can choose to divide this by 2 and divide this by 2. Notice that that's just with dividing because you have to do it to the whole side, right? So I'm left with y equals negative 3 over 2x minus, now 8 divided by 2 gets me 4. And there we are. Notice I have now my slope right there for me. I've got my y-intercept right there for me. And again, I can jump to it and graph. All right. Well, guys, last one we are going to leave with you. It's your turn. I want you to find the equation of a line that goes through those 2 points and then graph that line. Check it, make sure your equation matches the line that you actually graphed, and see how it goes. All right? Spectacular job today, guys. It's been a lot of fun. We look forward to seeing you guys soon.
Good luck and happy graphing.
Happy graphing!